First, the Marquis de Raverden, secretary to the American ambassador, interrupted Miss Nelly. I know him. Major Rawson, I continued. He is my uncle, someone said. Mon Revolta. Here, exclaimed an Italian, whose face was concealed beneath a heavy black beard. Miss Nelly burst into laughter and exclaimed, That gentleman can scarcely be called a blonde. Well then, I said, we are forced to conclude that the guilty party is the last one on the list. What is his name? Mon Rosaine. Does anyone know him? No one answered. But Miss Nelly turned to the taciturn young man, whose attentions to her had annoyed me, and said, Well, Monsieur Rosaine, why do you not answer? All eyes were now turned upon him. He was a blonde. I must confess that I myself felt a shock of surprise, and the profound silence that followed her question indicated that the others present also viewed the situation with a feeling of sudden alarm. However, the idea was an absurd one, because the gentleman in question presented an air of the most perfect innocence. Why do I not answer? He said. Because, considering my name, my position as a solitary traveler, and the color of my hair, I have already reached the same conclusion, and now I think I should be arrested. He presented a strange appearance as he uttered these words. His thin lips were drawn closer than usual, and his face was ghastly pale, whilst his eyes were streaked with blood. Of course he was joking, yet his appearance and attitude impressed us strangely. But you have not the wound, said Miss Nelly naively. That is true, he replied. I lack the wound. Then he pulled up his sleeve, removing his cuff, and showed us his arm. But that action did not deceive me. He had shown us his left arm, and I was on the point of calling out his attention to the fact when another incident diverted our attention. Lady Gerland, Miss Nelly's friend, came running towards us in a state of great excitement, exclaiming, My jewels, my pearls, someone has stolen all of them. No, they were not all gone, as we soon found out. The thief had taken only part of them, a very curious thing. Of the diamonds, sunbursts, jeweled pendants, bracelets, and necklaces, the thief had taken not the largest, but the finest and most valuable stones. The mountings were lying upon the table. I saw them there, despoiled of their jewels, like flowers from which the beautiful colored petals had been ruthlessly plucked. And this theft must have been committed at the time Lady Gerland was taking her tea in broad daylight in a stateroom opening on a much frequented corridor. Moreover, the thief had been obliged to force open the door of the stateroom, search for the jewel case, which was hidden at the bottom of a hat box, open it, select his booty, and remove it from the mountings. Of course, all the passengers instantly reached the same conclusion. It was the work of Arsène Lupin. That day at the dinner table, the seats to the right and left of Rosaine remained vacant, and during the evening it was rumored that the captain had placed him under arrest, which information produced a feeling of safety and relief. We breathed once more. That evening we resumed our games and dances. Miss Nelly especially displayed a spirit of thoughtless gaiety, which convinced me that if Rosaine's attention had been agreeable to her in the beginning, she had already forgotten him. Her charm and good humor completed my conquest. At midnight, under a bright moon, I declared my devotion with an ardor that did not seem to displease her. But the next day, to our great amazement, Rosaine was at liberty. We learned that the evidence against him was not sufficient. He had produced documents that were perfectly regular, that showed that he was the son of a wealthy merchant of Bordeaux. Besides, his arm did not bear the slightest trace of a wound. Documents, certificates of birth, exclaimed the enemies of Rosaine. Of course, Arsène Lupin will furnish you as many as you desire. And as to the wound, he never had it, or he had it removed. Then it was proven that at the time of the theft, Rosaine was promenading on the deck, to which fact his enemies replied that a man like Arsène Lupin could commit a crime without actually being present. And then, apart from all other circumstances, there remained one point which even the most skeptical could not answer. Who, except Rosaine, was traveling alone, was a blonde, and bore a name beginning with R? To whom did the telegram point, if it were not Rosaine? And when Rosaine, a few minutes before breakfast, came boldly towards our group, Miss Nelly and Lady Gerland arose and walked away. An hour later, a manuscript circular was passed from hand to hand among the sailors and stewards and the passengers of all classes. It announced that Monsieur Louis Rosaine was offered a reward of 10,000 francs for the discovery of Arsène Lupin or the person in possession of the stolen jewels. And if no one assists me, I will unmask the scoundrel myself, declared Rosaine. Rosaine against Arsène Lupin, or rather, according to current opinion, Arsène Lupin against Arsène Lupin. The contest promised to be interesting. Nothing developed during the next 2 days. We saw Rosaine wandering about day and night, searching, questioning, investigating. The captain also displayed commendable activity. He caused the vessel to be searched from stern to stern, ransacked every stateroom under the plausible theory that the jewels might be concealed anywhere except in the thief's own room. I suppose they will find out something soon, remarked Miss Nelly to me. He may be a wizard, but he cannot make diamonds and pearls become invisible. Certainly not, I replied, but he should examine the lining of our hats and vests and everything we carry with us. Then, exhibiting my Kodak, a 9x12, with which I had been photographing her in various poses, I added, in an apparatus no larger than that, a person could hide all of Lady Gerland's jewels. He could pretend to take pictures, and no one would suspect the game. But I have heard it said that every thief leaves some clue behind him. That may be generally true, I replied, but there is one exception, Arsène Lupin. Why? Because he concentrates his thoughts not only on the theft, but on the circumstances connected with it that could serve as a clue to his identity. A few days ago you were more confident. Yes, but since I have seen him work. And what do you think about it now? She asked. Well, in my opinion, we are wasting our time. And as a matter of fact, the investigation had produced no result. In the meantime, the captain's watch had been stolen. He was furious. He quickened his efforts and watched Rosaine more closely than ever. But on the following day, the watch was found in the second officer's collar box. The incident caused considerable astonishment and displayed the humorous side of Arsène Lupin, burglar though he was, but dilettante as well. He combined business with pleasure. He reminded us of the author who almost died in a fit of laughter, provoked by his own play. Certainly he was an artist in his particular line of work, and whatever I saw Rosaine gloomy and reserved, I thought of the double role that he was playing. I accorded him a certain measure of admiration. On the following evening, the officer on deck duty heard groans emanating from the darkest corner of the ship. He approached and found a man lying there, his head enveloped in a thick gray scarf and his hands tied together with a heavy cord. It was Rosaine. He had been assaulted, thrown down, and robbed. A card pinned to his coat bore these words: Arsène Lupin accepts with pleasure the 10,000 francs offered by Monsieur Rosaine. As a matter of fact, the stolen pocketbook contained